Let's talk about mold. You know that sneaky, stubborn problem that we've been fighting for years with, well, harsh chemicals and a whole lot of elbow grease. But what if there was a smarter way, a cleaner way? Today, we're going to dive into the science behind a really cool technology that is completely changing the game: dry ice blasting.
So, are you watching this because you're kind of staring down a mold issue right now? If so, you're in the right place and you are definitely not alone. And it turns out there's a seriously modern way to get rid of it that you're going to want to know about. You see, the first big challenge with mold is that it absolutely loves to hide. It just thrives in those damp, dark spots. We're talking about places like attics that don't get enough air, basements after a small leak, or even deep inside your HVAC system, just spreading spores every single time you kick on the AC. It's one of those out-of-sight, out-of-mind problems, right up until it isn't.
And look, it is so important to deal with it, because mold is not just some ugly stain on the drywall. It's a real-deal health hazard. Exposure can trigger everything from allergic reactions and asthma attacks to chronic sinus infections. This is really about the health and safety of everyone living in your home.
For decades, the way we've tackled mold has been, well, pretty basic, and frankly, it's been full of problems. So let's take a quick look at the old-school methods and see exactly why they just don't cut it anymore.
The old ways are just fundamentally flawed. Think about it. On one hand, you've got chemical treatments, like bleach. Sure, it might kill what's on the surface, but it doesn't actually remove the mold, and it can leave nasty, toxic stuff behind. Then, on the other hand, you have manual scrubbing and sanding. It takes forever, it's backbreaking work, and a lot of the time it can actually damage the wood or drywall you're trying to save.
So if the old ways are so bad, what's the alternative? How do we get around all those problems? Well, this is where things get really cool. This is where a truly modern, scientific approach comes into play: dry ice blasting.
Okay, so what is it exactly? I know, it sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but the concept is actually brilliant and pretty simple. We're taking these tiny pellets of solid carbon dioxide, yep, that's dry ice, and we're using compressed air to blast them at a moldy surface. But it's what happens on impact that's the real magic here.
The whole process is this powerful 1-2-3 punch, okay? First, the super cold dry ice hits the mold and freezes it instantly, which makes it incredibly brittle. Second, the force of that impact just shatters the frozen mold, completely destroying its root structure. And third, and this is the absolute game changer, the dry ice doesn't melt, it sublimates. It turns directly from a solid into a gas, and that expansion just lifts the mold right off the surface. The result? No water, no chemicals, and no messy cleanup.
Now, when the pros do this, it's a very systematic, controlled process. It's not just some guy showing up with a machine. They start with a full inspection, and then set up a containment area. Then comes the blasting. After that, and this is a crucial step, they use special HEPA vacuums to capture any bits of debris or spores floating in the air. Then, a final inspection makes sure the job is 100% done. So, when you put that whole process together, you start to see some absolutely incredible advantages. It becomes obvious pretty quickly why this is such a massive leap forward in dealing with mold. I mean, the benefits just speak for themselves. It's completely non-toxic. We're talking zero bleach, zero harsh chemicals. There's no secondary waste to clean up because the dry ice literally just vanishes into thin air. It's incredibly fast, and those tiny pellets can get into every last nook and cranny where mold loves to hide. And let's just pause on this number for a second. Up to 80% faster than old-school methods like sanding and scraping. Just think about that for a minute. A job that could take a team days of painstaking, messy labor can often be wrapped up in a single afternoon. That is a huge difference in how much your life gets disrupted. And the benefits go even further, into safety and the environment. Because it's non-abrasive, it doesn't scrape up or damage the wood. There are no toxic fumes, which makes it way safer for the crew and for you. And by getting rid of all those chemicals, it's just a much greener, more eco-friendly choice all around.
Okay, I know. It all sounds amazing. But this is where we need to get practical. Is this high-tech solution really the right choice for your situation? Let's get into the questions that you're probably asking yourself right now.
Let's just tackle the elephant in the room: the cost. And yes, the upfront price tag for dry ice blasting can be higher than just buying a bucket of bleach and a brush. But you gotta think long-term here. Because it's so incredibly thorough, the risk of that mold coming back is dramatically lower. So when you factor in the time you save and preventing future problems, it very often ends up being the smarter, more cost-effective investment.
Which, of course, leads to the next big question people always ask. If this is so great, can I just save some money, rent the gear, and do it myself?
Well, when you actually weigh the pros and cons, the answer becomes pretty clear. The only real pro is that you might save a little bit on labor. But the cons? Whoa. The equipment is expensive, there's a serious risk of injury from the CO2 and compressed air, and it's so easy to miss a spot, which means the mold just grows right back. The safety gear and ventilation you need alone is a huge deal.
So, the final verdict? Honestly, this is a job you want to leave to the professionals. They have the right training, the right safety protocols, and the powerful equipment to make sure the mold is gone for good the first time around. It's really about buying peace of mind.
So let's just bust a few common myths really fast. Myth 1, it's too expensive. We've covered that. It's an investment in a permanent fix. Myth 2, it's harsh and damages surfaces. Nope, completely false. It's actually super gentle. And myth 3, it's only for giant industrial factories. Not anymore. It is absolutely becoming the go-to solution for regular homes.
You know, one of our sources really hit the nail on the head. They called it a game changer for mold remediation. And that is not an exaggeration. It really is a fundamental shift in how we fight this ancient, stubborn problem.
So, we'll end with this question. As we all look for safer, more effective, and greener ways to take care of our homes, is this kind of technology the future? I think when it comes to tackling something as serious as mold, it's pretty clear that science is finally giving us some incredible new tools for the fight.